Welcome to the Women Who Rock podcast. This is your host, Joey Bell. Today I had the pleasure of meeting with Miss Leah Riley as she discussed her life story and her book. Just fair warning that this interview ran a little bit long, so it's going to be in two parts. This is part one, so I hope you enjoy. Tell me a little bit about, we've already discussed previously about this book that you have. Um, and how you've had it on your mind for a while. You finally sat down and went through the process of writing it, and now it's published. What's the name of it?
When God Went Silent, Grief, Ruin, and Finding a Divine Who Wanted Me.
Okay. Now, where can people find that book?
Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so just talk a little bit about leading up to writing that book. I know you've got a lot of interesting life experience, um, a lot of it negative.
Mm-hmm.
You've a lot of it positive, recently, especially. Um, but just kind of explain a little bit about, um, like I said, the decision process, the actual writing process, and the a little hint about the backstory of what we're going to experience if we read this book.
So the book itself actually picks up at the point where I found my husband dead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where I chose to start.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly being that is where I lost me.
Mm-hmm.
I lost who I was the moment I found him.
Mm-hmm.
I was no longer the wife. I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea who I was anymore because my life had become so wound around him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because we were married 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
We were together 25.
Mm-hmm.
He was an alcoholic. So I dealt with the alcoholism and I knew it going into it and I did it anyway
Mm-hmm.
because I loved him. Um, the alcoholism for that whole time. And then 6 years before he passed away, he was diagnosed bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
So now take a alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
22-year military man
Mm-hmm.
who lived the military
Mm-hmm.
and throw bipolar unmedicated by choice.
Right.
Um, my whole world revolved around him.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure everything was in the perfect spot. I tiptoed, I walked on eggshells, anything I could do to not to set the man off.
So just let me interject here real. Did he see any action the time he was in the military?
No, we
Yeah,
were fortunate. He was an electronic technician.
gotcha.
So he stayed
Okay.
within the lab the
So at
whole
least
time.
there wasn't some any PTSD mixed in with all that cocktail and
No,
stuff. So
no,
right,
I was fortunate and there was no PTSD in that form.
gotcha.
But there still was PTSD because he saw his mother, who was bipolar,
Mm-hmm.
and everything she went through
Right.
as he was a child, the unmedicated, his father having to institutionalize her, and the ugliness
Mm-hmm.
of everything with that, which is some of the reasons why he chose not to be medicated.
Right.
And I understood it because the medications, they numb you.
Mm-hmm.
You are basically a shell walking around.
Mm-hmm.
So I understood it, but there was never a balance there.
Mm-hmm.
But because of all of that, my life just evolved around him.
Right.
Even with the kids growing up, it's like, okay, dad's in a bad mood, you got to be careful what you're doing, stay quiet. And as we progressed towards the last few years of his life, it was to the point where Lonoke County Sheriff's Office knew us.
Hmm.
They knew who we were, they knew the story, they knew what was going on, they knew he was bipolar, and they had to be careful when they came so they wouldn't get hurt.
Right.
And I remember that one evening, Deputy Lucas came out and she said, at that time my name was Stoll. She said, Miss Stoll, you need to get out
Hmm.
because we will show up with a body bag. It
Hmm.
will be for you or it will be for him.
Hmm.
And the circumstances around his death are unsolved.
Hmm.
We have no idea what happened. I know the means in which he was killed,
Hmm.
but we don't know who did it.
Right.
We don't know if it was suicide or homicide.
Mm. So, like you said, you went into it knowing that he was alcoholic.
Yes.
Of course, you didn't go into it knowing he was bipolar because that was a diagnosis that was made later.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Um,
Didn't
so,
didn't even know about the mom being bipolar at that
right,
point.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was,
So you had no, yeah,
oh yeah, that was a bombshell for me.
right. But you still, um, thinking back, you probably think about um, you're knowing you're very much of a caregiver, very much of a um, person that's reliable, a person that takes care of people, a person that's giving, that's selfless. And that's what you were being in that situation, but you were being that way with the wrong person, you think?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Um, I stayed, and the question comes back to why did you stay?
Hmm.
I stayed because I remember the man I fell in love with.
Right.
He was in there somewhere,
Hmm.
you know. Every now and then I would get a glimpse of him,
Hmm.
not very often, and it was enough to give me hope.
Right.
And I would pray, what we do. I'm Christian,
Hmm.
cradle Catholic. You pray to God,
Hmm.
help him change, help him change, help him change. You pray, you pray, you pray, you pray, you pray.
Hmm.
And I always remember the man who was there
Hmm.
at one point. Um, and I remember something my mama said. So my father was an alcoholic.
Hmm.
Go figure.
Yeah.
We marry our fathers.
Hmm.
Um, she stayed because of her wedding vows.
Hmm.
Now, when your mom says she stayed because of your wedding vows,
Hmm.
what do?
Right.
You stay because of your wedding vows.
Hmm.
For better, for worse, in sickness and health,
Right.
till death do you part.
Hmm.
And I know what it is. Those vows, every single word of them.
Hmm.
So that's why I stayed.
Yeah.
I mean, even my best friends, they knew it. It was a love-hate relationship, but they're like, Leah, you just love him. You can't leave him,
Hmm.
no matter what I tried. I mean, I signed divorce papers. It took me 2 years to do divorce papers,
Right.
and I've signed divorce papers. The divorce papers were in the mail Thursday night. He passed away Friday.
Hmm.
I have no idea if he saw the papers or not.
Right.
I have no idea.
So what actually was the last straw for you to sign the divorce papers? Was it you just finally making that decision, or was there some kind of incident that happened, or?
It was tough love.
Hmm.
That's why I did it. Tough love. This is my last straw.
Hmm.
If you want me, you'll fight for me.
Hmm.
And it's ironic because it wasn't until I wrote this book he didn't fight for me.
Hmm.
He signed the papers,
Hmm.
not a question asked.
Yeah.
His only statement was, I know you can't give me any more chances.
Hmm.
I went, okay.
Well, so we also talked about how in the writing of this book, strange enough, that things that you thought that you would never forget, there were things that were coming up, right, that you
Mhm.
had kind of forgotten. Do you believe some of those were just being repressed because they were just kind of saving you from the pain, or do you think they were just things that there were so many things that were going on that in the hierarchy of what all to remember, those were the least of things you had to remember? Or what is it?
Well, I think it was in the hierarchy, there was so much going on
Mhm.
around this time. Um, I mean, when I say I lost myself, so our daughter got married and left for um, basic, for
Mhm.
military. She joined the military, got married, joined the military, got married, joined the military, left for basic the Monday after Thanksgiving. That March is when I lost my husband.
Mhm.
That May, our oldest son graduated,
Mhm.
and by August, he had moved to Fayetteville. He'd
Mhm.
moved away. So, in a matter of about 9 months, I went from a house of five to a house of two,
Mhm.
me and my 9-year-old child.
Right.
So, when I say I lost myself, my roles were gone,
Mhm.
my husband was gone, my identity was gone.
Mhm.
At that point, my God was gone.
Mhm.
Um, because God wasn't answering my questions.
Right.
And that goes back to, childhood, living the marriage, and always begging God, help me, help me, help me, send me something, which is one of the reasons I named the book exactly that. At that point, my God went silent.
Yeah.
I lost faith.
Mhm. And what's so crazy is, as toxic as it is or was, that we still find ourselves in these roles
Mm-hmm.
where even if it's painful, even if it's something where you're just, again, every time, you wake up every morning and say, God, please make it a better day. If at the end of the day you're thinking, hey, God, please, help me, get through to him, whatever it is, you still had this role and you still had this identity, whether it was, again, a toxic relationship, and this identity was of you being the person that was there, following your vows, trying to do the right thing, and trying your best to get him to turn around, and probably, again, knowing that he wasn't going to,
Right.
you know, but you felt like, you know, um, it was like you were a soldier charging up the hill, and at the top of the hill there's going to be machine guns waiting for you, but you had to charge up the hill, right?
You just keep going.
You just keep going.
You just keep going. And
Yeah.
that was life. I knew basically this was my role. This is how life was going to be
Mhm.
until I got to a point where I just said, okay, enough's enough.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you where that turning point was.
Mhm.
I just know I got to a point where I was tired and I finally signed the divorce papers.
Mhm.
And it was ironic because we had 2 days left before we had to start the whole process all over again.
Right.
So I waited every bit possible to
Mhm.
even sign those papers.
Mhm.
But again, it was still playing those roles. And one of those roles, looking back, speaking with you now, was I was his safety net,
Mhm.
and I knew it.
Mhm.
If something went wrong, I was right there to catch him, and I knew it.
Mhm.
He knew it
Yeah.
because he even said it. You're my safety net, and
Right.
through everything, he knew I was always there.
Mhm. But the problem is it wasn't mutual. You didn't
No,
have a safety net.
no,
Yeah.
no.
And that's what made it probably the worst of anything is
Hmm.
when you're in a situation where you're thinking to yourself, well, this is my lot in life,
Hmm.
and now, but yet you don't have anybody to turn to even just lean on, or just say, hey, take the reins, take the wheel, let me get a break here or something,
Right.
right? And you just, like you said your life was, wound around him, but you were just slowly wearing yourself to a nub, you
I
know?
hope. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it gets to a point where like you said, you get to a point where you start thinking to yourself, you've lost, you're starting to, you've lost yourself or started to lose yourself a long time ago. But you also get to this point where you're just you're going through the motions, right?
Hmm.
You're not you're not yourself. You're not laughing like you used to. You're not enjoying things like you used to.
Hmm.
Even things that were to be, you would consider to be enjoyable, if it's something that involved him, you're always on that edge of, okay, what's about to happen?
Right.
I mean, I can't enjoy this moment because something may happen any second. So, it's um you again, you when you talk about, losing your identity, um people don't realize it's not just losing your identity. You lost your humanity. You are no longer a human. You were a you were a robot. You were just
Hmm.
just you know
I did the same thing every day and I knew it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's what kept the peace in the house.
right,
So you get conditioned to this is just the way you are. This is just the way it is. And you after 22, well, actually 25 years together, you just come to the place where, okay, this is just the way it is.
right.
You said something that made me remember about family. It had gotten to the point where I didn't have friends.
Hmm.
I ostracized myself from that.
Hmm.
But I had even pushed my family away
Hmm.
because I didn't want them to see what was going on.
Hmm.
When mom was alive, she would call me almost every Sunday and I would just play that happy daughter. Yeah, mom, everything's fine. Everything's good.
Hmm.
Everything's perfect. Nothing's going on here. And I had actually pushed the family away.
Yeah. I've often said that, people will try to say, what's the worst thing to experience in life? What's the, how bad can it get? Because you hear stories about, people that have experienced stuff, and sometimes you've experienced really bad things, but then you hear about other people that's experienced things that you feel like, oh, that's way worse than I experienced. But really, when it all comes down all to all of it, is the worst thing for us as human beings to experience, and it's what happens in any of these situations, is it's shame. Shame
Mm,
is the worst feeling, the worst emotion to feel, because again, it affects every single thing that you do.
yeah.
You're being the fake person to your mom. You're being the fake person to the person at the grocery store. You're smiling, how you doing? Have a great day. You're being you're being fake to your children because you're just like, hey, because you're wanting them to be happy. You want them to have a normal childhood. You're wanting them to be successful, right?
Mhm.
And you can't, let them know that what's bothering you. And again, but again, it's that, and then, but down inside is that shame,
Mhm.
right? And so after this, okay, so what comes after this, after his death?
So what comes after his death is um it wasn't just, okay, I've talked about the kids leaving. I lost him and going through that, I had to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
Hmm.
And I tried the hardest I could to make ends meet, but our beautiful government gave me $600 to live on.
Hmm.
Um, that's to pay all the utilities, all the gas to get back and forth to work, and to actually eat.
Hmm.
$600, you can't do it,
Yeah.
not on two people.
Hmm.
Um, and I ended up filing Chapter 7
Hmm.
shortly after that. So I lost the home
Hmm.
that we had all our dreams in.
Hmm.
The first home our two older children ever knew
Hmm.
because we were military. It's the longest home they'd ever lived in.
Hmm.
At that time, it was 13 years.
Hmm.
Um, I lost his truck. I lost the boat that we had all our memories in from every summer.
Mm.
for 13 years.
Mhm.
Um, and then from there, it was trying to figure out what next,
Yeah.
what next.
Mhm.
And God bless our children.
Mm.
For me, the only thing that got me out of it were 5 words.
Mm.
Our youngest one at that time was 9, and it was probably about 4 months after we had lost my husband.
Mhm.
And he walks up to me in the hallway and he looks at me and he says, Mom, I need a dad.
Mm.
Whew.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Right.
You say, okay, we're going to put our big girl panties on and we're going to put ourselves out there and get vulnerable again
Yeah.
because he needs a dad.
Mhm. Out of the mouths of babe, right?
Out of the
Yeah.
mouths of babes.
Yeah.
But when you look back, and this is how I can look back at so many different things that have happened, I believe it was spirit giving him that message.
Mhm.
There's more that you have to do on
Right.
this earth.
Mhm.
It wasn't just he needed a dad,
Mhm.
but it was giving me that purpose to get up and go again.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, so now that you've put yourself out there, what comes next? Is it um first of all, how scared were you?
At that point, scared didn't play a factor anymore
Yeah, you've been through
because
it. Yeah.
I've been through enough.
Right.
And when you've gone through everything that I have gone through, I mean, we're going to step back just a hair because even the funerals, yes, 2 funerals were not easy.
Mhm.
I went to my church. He was raised Catholic. He came to the Catholic Church and said, I want to become Catholic. And in that church, became a Catholic.
Mhm.
And when I went to the pastor and asked for the last rites in the
Mhm.
funeral service, I was told no.
Mhm.
I was told, because at that time we thought it was suicide based on the information we had at that
Mhm.
point, um, because he'd committed suicide.
Mhm.
It wasn't allowed. The
Mhm.
church didn't allow it.
Mhm. Okay.
The
So,
church he chose to be a
right,
part of.
right. Mhm. So, what's the next step then?
Well, I finally found a Baptist priest that we had become friends with, and the Baptist pastor took care of everything for us.
Mhm.
Wonderful, finally got that taken care of. And I get a call from his sister and says, Leah, they won't bury him in the plot with mom and dad.
Mhm.
Mom and dad, they're still alive, but mom and dad have their plot. They won't bury him in the plot because it's on the Lutheran side of the cemetery
Mhm.
and he's Catholic.
Mhm.
I went, oh, really? I went, no, he's not. I said, he's not Catholic. He never finished his classes.
Yeah.
And she questioned. I said, between you and me, nobody needs to know.
Mhm.
I said, you just tell mom and dad he never finished his classes. He was never baptized as a Christian,
Mhm.
and he's still Lutheran.
Right.
What else do you do?
Right.
He needed to be there with his mom and dad in that plot.
Right.
That was the Christian thing to do.
Yeah. And see, even in this situation, you find yourself doing the right thing, right?
Well, depending on who you talk to.
Well, again,
Morally,
yeah, yes. I mean, you're still in a situation where most people would have said, you know, throw him in the dump. I don't care,
Sure.
at this point. But you're still doing the right thing, um, based on your morals as a person. You're
Yes.
feeling like, okay, he's gone now, you know, just out of respect for somebody that's passed away, regardless of what they were when they were alive.
Hmm.
We are most of us are generally taught to have respect for the dead, and you were doing the
Hmm.
right thing when you had no reason to have to do that. You know,
No,
you know,
the love is still there.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
care, and I will tell anybody, and I've even told Dave, my husband now,
mm-hmm.
I've even said, it doesn't matter how he treated me. I remember the man that was inside.
Mm-hmm.
That man was still in there somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
but the chemical imbalance
Mm-hmm.
from the alcohol and the bipolar did not allow him to come out.
Mm-hmm.
If he had cancer, would I walk away?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Right.
If he was having a heart attack and had to have open heart surgery, would I walk away? No. Why would I walk away from a mental illness?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't justify it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. I mean, even our best friends, they even said, Leah, even if you do get a divorce and you try to separate, you're still going to be right back together with him
Yeah.
because physically we could not be apart.
Right.
This was the only way to separate us was through death.
Yeah. So did you find yourself so he did get buried where you were going?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
the Lutheran church believed
right,
our story, and he's in the
right.
Lutheran cemetery.
So did you find yourself at that moment, or did it take a little while for you to forgive him?
Him or the church?
Him.
I've always forgiven him.
Yeah.
I could never hold the anger with him.
Hmm.
Did I not like it at the moment? And was I angry in the moment?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always knew that little spark on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, looking from the outside in, and, most people don't understand this. Um, they don't understand the value of forgiving those who have
Hmm.
wronged you. It lightens your load,
Hmm.
right? It takes a lot of, and again, when it's like earlier when I was talking about shame, a lot of people think shame is us being shameful of things we've done, but the majority of our shame comes from the things that other people have done to us.
Hmm.
Because there's this thing where, and even especially as adults, we feel like we allowed them to do this. We're responsible for them.
Yeah.
We feel shame for things that happen to us as children that stick with us, right? And part of getting rid of that shame is the forgiveness.
Hmm.
And part of the, getting rid of, again, just so for some it's the anger, for some it's pain, or a combination of um, that forgiveness. Um, because again, sitting back and looking at it, uh, an abusive person, absolutely. A person that in reality was bipolar, who was more than likely using alcohol as a self-medication to
Hmm.
that, who was raised in a home with a bipolar mother. So we don't know how healthy of a childhood he had. Again, does not mean that, you know, you make, he's, you make a statue of him and honor him or anything like that. But again, it's that point where you kind of separate yourself from the situation and start looking at the reality of he was a flawed human being, right?
Right.
And like you said, it's the same as if he had had any other disease. He had a
Yeah.
mental disease. So, um, when after this, how long do you do you see your life turning towards a positive direction? Yeah.
Oh, most people will actually find it kind of ironic. So I lost him in March. Um, It was in August. Uh, I had gotten on Match.com.
Mhm.
How else do you find somebody to date?
Right.
These, especially at my age. So I got on Match.com and I went out on a couple of dates. Um, by the end of August, I met my husband.
Mhm.
I met Dave.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Mhm.
It was meant to be. And it's funny because when he first popped up and he reached out, I told him 2 different times, I can't date you, you're too old.
Mhm.
And a couple weeks went by and I'm not sure what happened. I finally said, fine, we'll go out on a date. Let's just have a nice evening. And we've done it and we've tried it. And here he is 10 years later, still
Yeah.
with me.
Oh, and as somebody that knows you both pretty closely,
Mhm.
you two are meant to be together.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just you two were meant to meet and to get over this portion of a certain part of your life or whatever it was. No, you two are meant to be together throughout.
Yeah.
And so, how good has the good been considering how bad the bad was? In other
Oh,
words, has the bad, the worst of the bad, made the good even better?
yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm living a life that um, I couldn't have imagined. Uh, it's a husband that loves me and tells me every day and shows me every day, and I want for nothing.
Mhm.
He is at my beck and call. Um, and it's vice versa
Mhm.
because even he has never had that either
Mhm.
through the marriages that he's gone through.
Right.
So it really is how ironic the two of us we we meld together
Mhm.
so beautifully.
Because again, you're both are givers,
Yes.
and it was both of you finding that other person that just wasn't a taker.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You both find out again, it's that, I give, you give, I give, you give, right?
Hmm.
And that's a healthy relationship. And what I've seen out of you is the years that I've known you is I've seen somebody who admittedly has a fear of public speaking,
Yep.
right? Who now, you know, once a month, will sit and in front of dozens of people and sometimes, quite a few people and will speak
Hmm.
and talk about what we're going to discuss for the day and direct a meeting. Um, and I don't see that person who's was scared of public speaking. And that fear of public speaking, again, comes from that relationship because
Hmm.
you were, like you said, walking on eggshells, you were afraid that I was going to say the wrong thing or this and the
Hmm.
other. But now, when you're in a supportive relationship and you have friends that are supportive and a community that's supportive, you know, even do you get nervous before you get from a group? Probably so, because most people still do, no matter how many times you've done it. But just think about that. Think about how, you know, 10 years ago, there'd be no way you would ever have got in front of a group of 30, 40 people, because there's been that many
Yeah.
people, you know, and would have been there and been like the director of everything, right? And so again, that's so much of that is finding that strength. So much of that is, you know, overcoming, the past and realizing, you know, there's nothing that can hurt me or affect me now because the pain I went through before was
Hmm.
so severe that I felt like even pains that have happened since then, because we're all going to still have pains. We're going to lose loved ones. We're going to, things are going to happen, but you feel like I'm equipped to handle those things so much better.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've got the strength to get to those things. And you found in yourself a person that is not only stronger than you used to be, because, and I use the term loosely, because you were extremely strong, even though you didn't realize it.
Oh, yeah.
Because most people would not have stayed in that situation. And a lot of times people stay in the situation out of weakness, but you stayed in that situation out of strength
Hmm.
because your strength was, okay, I've got kids I've got to raise. Your strength was, there's still parts of this man that I see that I love, that I'm going to stay by his side, and God help me, please help get better.
Yeah.
Um, and now your strength comes from, again, having a loving partner that supports you, who lifts you up,
Hmm.
and like you said, before, for your past husband, you were his safety net. And now yourself, for the first time, you have a safety net.
Oh, yeah.
When you can't, Dave can. When Dave can't, you can. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that is a thing that everybody wants in their life.
Hmm.
And again, that helps. It snowballs. They start, it's that thing. It just starts getting, you start speaking in front of people, and now you're writing a book about your life story, and speaking about it proudly,
Hmm.
and saying, this is what I went through. This is where I am now. But again, where before you never would have talked about that stuff, the specifics of it.
Hmm.
You would have said, well, there's been some things in my past that weren't too good, but you wouldn't have been specifics.
Yeah.
But you're also doing that because your goal is your normal nature, is you writing this to help other people,
Yes.
because that's your normal nature. So again, hopefully people will read that book, and people that are experiencing the same thing, or have experienced it, or know somebody that's experiencing it, right? And will see a piece of themselves or somebody else in that, and go, "Ooh, I can relate to that."
Hmm.
And where's that woman at now? Oh, here's where she's at. Oh, you know, and you know, um,
It's
it's
it's ironic, this
mhm,
book. I know you've been so busy you haven't been able to read it yet.
mhm,
The way I wrote the book,
mhm.
it is in two sections.
Right.
The first section talks about the loss, up until pretty much until the time I met Dave, a little bit further after that,
Hmm.
moving in together and everything. But then the second half actually talks about, what did I lose from grief?
Hmm.
What did I find from grief? What did I gain from the grief?
Hmm.
You know, the God that went silent. Oh, the divine I have now,
Hmm.
because I lost all faith in what I was taught, is so much beautiful what I have found now,
Hmm.
because it's a divine that speaks to me and touches me.
Hmm.
It's not the dogmatic, indoctrinated one that I learned through 12 years of Catholic school
Hmm.
and so many years of being brought up in the Catholic institution.
Hmm.
Um, so when people read the book, it really is, yes, the story in the front, but how do you look at what you've gone through?
Yeah.
It's not just about the story. What can you gain from it?
Hmm.
How do you walk? And I've had a couple of people reach out to me just this last couple of weeks, how I have been able to walk in silence with grief as a companion and not an enemy.
Hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
When you can come to a place where grief is no longer your enemy, but your companion.
Hmm.
The grief will never go away.
Hmm.
It will always be there, but you learn to live alongside of it.
Hmm.
And that's what I talk about.
Right.
And that's part of the teaching and the healing.
Hmm.
That is so important.